Welcome back. Today I'd like to analyze a couple of games that I played against one of you, my subscribers. Now in the past I used to play a bunch of games against subscribers. I always requested that you challenge me to unrated daily games. Unrated so that I wouldn't lose my rating against higher players, or you wouldn't lose your rating if you were a much lower rated player. But as it turned out, I just got a bunch of people that were just beating me and I wasn't learning anything from it. So that's why I haven't asked people to challenge me to, even unrated games in a long time. But as luck would have it, when I clicked for a new game against a random opponent, apparently Anderson Connors was doing the same thing at the same time, and our ratings were close enough that the system matched us together, so we ended up playing this game on chess.com. Now I have just clicked the game review right before I started my intro, and I know that I lost this game, and it looks like Anderson played a little bit better than I did. He had a bunch more misses than I did, which is weird, but I had one more mistake. And I only had one miss, but it looks like it was right there. Look at that. I had 6 mistakes and he had 5 mistakes. It looks like we were all over the place, but he was ahead most of the time, except for right here where I had a chance. But then that looks like a little orange dot, so that had to be the miss that's showing up right here. But yeah, you can't see mine, but it says I played like an 850. Okay, so I apparently only had a couple of chances in this game. Anderson Connors had a bunch more chances, but didn't take advantage of them until right there. And also sometime around the time that this game started, the same thing happened on Lichess. I clicked start a new game to get a random opponent on Lichess, and I got matched with Anderson over there too. The games didn't start at the same time, I don't think, but they ended very close to the same time, which is why I wanted to cover them both today. I'm just going to click over to the analysis board, and I will run through this rather than doing what I've done the last few times, which is going to the point of the one mistake that lost me the game. But I think I will start there just out of curiosity. Here we were close to even. I may have even had a very slight advantage. And it looks like Anderson needed to either pull this knight back to f5. Actually, that would have been his best move. What he played was his second best move, but it was counted as a mistake. It gives me nearly a -2 advantage if I'll just take it. And now I see why. Okay, because my queen is also guarding that square. Assuming he had taken back, I would have picked up an extra pawn. And I didn't need to be worried about the checkmate coming over here because my bishop's guarding that square. If after I took and that pawn took and I took back and they tried to come down this way, I could have protected my bishop. And also I would have been very close to, to checking down there on the other end. But still, it's just -2. But that was my only chance right there. And I think I do understand it. What I didn't want to do was trade, though, and it's because I didn't see that I would also get the pawn. So I just dropped back here to, I guess, defend that? Oh no, maybe to add another defender over here. And then he was ahead for the rest of the game, according to that graph. But going back to the beginning, Anderson started with the English, and he has told me that it's because he saw me starting to play the English. He just basically does whatever opening I've been doing just for fun. But anyway, I played a symmetrical variation because that's often pretty frustrating when I play the English, except for here. I probably checked the opening book. In daily games, you are allowed to check the opening book, just not an engine. And the opening book said black should usually play here. But it was the symmetrical variation up until then. Anyway, these are still book moves up until here. I'm trying to make a play for d5. And it looks like according to the list here, we didn't make any mistakes or anything until move 9. So I'll just skip on to there. These weren't all the best moves, but some of them were still very close to even. I played this just because I have so many opponents try to sneak a knight around the other way. d4 was his best move, and castling was my best move. Well, it's pretty close to what I did. I just went ahead and took that. That's one reason to have the c-pawn out there. And he took back, and now I should have castled or played rook to b8. Okay, how bad was this inaccuracy? It was kind of bad. It took off a whole half point. We went from about 0.6 to 1.3. My idea was to just, get my pieces off the back rank, and I didn't think I needed to castle since I'm not in any immediate danger. Anderson should have played knight to f4, and it says I would have played knight to a5. I probably wouldn't have, but I guess I see why, and it says if I did that, it would have played b3, so that obviously there's no point. I don't understand. Maybe one of you can explain it to me, but Stockfish is always saying, attack something that they can easily defend, and then you can't take it, so there was no point in putting the knight over there. So yeah, I don't understand that. He also could have played b3 first, but instead he played a3, and notice now it's not saying I should play knight to a5. I didn't. I played b6 trying to get this bishop out, and that was a mistake, and he should have played d5 now, and I would have taken, it wouldn't have taken back. Wait, what? It says if d5, he would have had +2 if he'd played d5 here. And I probably would have taken with this pawn and would have expected him to take back, but it says he wouldn't have. It says he would have played bishop to g5 first, and then I would have just moved my queen over one. Or if he didn't want to play d5, he could play g4. Well, I don't get that, but that's what it says. Okay, so it's no surprise to me that he missed something here. I assumed the reason that he had played a3 was to push this pawn forward, and that's what he did, but now his advantage is not nearly as much. Now, because this bishop is pointed down here, I thought I should put my bishop there first, but then what if I had to do something with my queen? Then the bishop wouldn't be defended, so I decided to play the rook first, and that's my second best move. Stockfish would have moved the bishop first, but I moved the rook first. Now bishop to e3. No, it said bishop to e3, but when I looked away, it's changed. Now the first and second best move are queen to a4. Please fix this, chess.com. This happens every game that I go through with the analysis board at some point. The first and second best move with two different evaluations are the same move. This has to be a simple line missing in the programming, right? Because that's the exact same line all the way out, but one of them's a little better for some reason. Yeah, that should be an easy fix. I'm not a programmer, but just logically, that has to be just one line missing from the program. Just not do that. Okay. Anyway, the bishop got out here, and then I got my bishop out, which was one of my best moves. I am delaying castling just because every time that I have hurried to castle, it has come back to bite me, or almost every time. Now he's not supposed to play d5, and he did. It was a mistake. Now he needs to play rook to c1 or knight to f4 again. Again, not sure what knight to f4 would do, but d5 is now a mistake. But not if I take it. Earlier, when he was supposed to play d5, I was going to take it. But now, nope. Now I just need to hop the knight around to e5 because that pawn's undefended. I guess that's why I would go there, because the c pawn is undefended. But it says then he would take here, and I would take back, and then he would take the bishop, and I would take back. But why am I not supposed to take it when earlier I was supposed to take it? But here, the only move that stays close to even is knight to e5. So when I took it, now the problem is that he can take with the knight, not the pawn. And he did. He's up +3. Now, I'm not sure why he's ahead, because I can just take it. Yes, my queen's in danger, but again, I can just take it. I assume he'll take back, and then I'll move the knight. It was my best move to take. It's his best move to take with the pawn, and then I would hop this knight over here. And he would attack it with the pawn, and then I would put the knight over here. And he would get g7. Okay, but that's +1, not +3. But yeah, the problem is my knight is what was keeping the bishop from pointing at this pawn. Okay, I guess I understand that. But he took back with the bishop, which allows me to castle. He's still ahead, just not as far ahead as he was. Again, I don't understand why that was going to give him +3. But he's up +1 now, even though we're even on material. I did castle, my best move. And he did play knight to f4, which was for a second his best move. Now it is again. Okay, he plays knight to f4. Where is it going from there? Is it just to protect the bishop? Oh, is it trying to come in here? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's trying to come in here to g7. Knight to e5 was my best move, which blocks the bishop from seeing across there. He was supposed to play rook to e1, but he played rook to c1, and he's still ahead by 1 point in the evaluation. Again, I'm not sure why. I need to play bishop to g5 or rook f to c8. Okay, well, I don't understand either one of those. I played rook f to d8 because it lines up with the queen. I thought that might prevent him from pushing one of these pawns forward because I could just take and then my rook would be pointed at the queen. But that's a mistake. Now he's up +2 if he'll play knight to h5. Okay, that is what Stockfish was thinking about earlier, or at least it was a possibility, and now it's definitely saying to do that. He did not do that. He took this bishop, decided to trade off, and I did wonder whether I should take back with the rook or the queen. It is best to take back with the queen. Okay, I made the right choice there, and I think the reason that I chose that is A, so that my two rooks would continue to protect each other, and B, so that my queen would be protecting the bishop and pointed down through this diagonal over here. Not that I have anything specific planned about that diagonal, but my queen's on it, and it's open because of the pawn movement there. Absolute best move from Anderson Connors. The only move that keeps his advantage was knight to d5. That keeps my queen from pointing down through there. It does aim at the bishop, and it looks like it's about even to protect the bishop with the rook or by dropping it back, and I did drop it back, so that was pretty good, but he's still ahead if he'll play rook to e1 or a4, but he played f4, which, I mean, I thought that was a great move. I've got to move the knight now, and of course, that gets out of the way of the bishop. And I should have moved it to g6. I thought if I moved it to g6, he would just push the pawn again, and yeah, then sure, I could put my knight back, but now he's got a pawn up here. I played my second best move coming back here. He's still up +1. Queen to g4 is his best move, lining up with the bishop, but my bishop is there protecting that, and as you saw, it was there for quite some time. Second best move was a4, but he played queen to d4, lining up with the bishop now. In case I ever have to move mine, he's good. I should have played a5 or rook to e8. Sorry, there's a ton of wind outside right now. I'm not in a tornado or a hurricane or anything, but it's just really windy, clear sky, nice weather other than really strong winds. And I hear like fences moving and roofs moving, and it's crazy. Hopefully the mic isn't picking all of that up. Anyway, a5 or rook to e8. I played this rook to c8, thinking he might have been about to move this pawn, and I guess I already have a bunch of stuff guarding that square, but that's a mistake. Now he's at +3 again if he'll check me. Oh, nice. Okay, I understand this one, and I don't understand why it's just +3. I guess it's just +3 because he's going to end up getting the rook, and I will get the knight. Okay, yeah, he had that. Because I can't move my bishop because of this line up here, this battery pointed at g7, so I couldn't just take it. Oh, Anderson, I wish you had seen that. I mean, for your sake, I'm glad you didn't see it for my sake, but yeah, okay, I get that. That's not even that advanced of a tactic. It's just you have to be focusing on this battery pointed right there. And the only thing keeping you from checkmate is this bishop. So I'm not going to take the knight. Or hopefully I would have figured that out. But you would have gone up the exchange. Okay, I get that. Still even on material, he didn't find that. He just pushed the A pawn. And now I need to play rook to E8. Now I understand why I need to play rook to E8. Or rook to B8. Wait, I did play... Oh no, I played queen to B8. Why did I do that? Why did I play queen to b8? I don't know why I played queen to b8. I can't explain that, but it is a mistake, and it's because he can do this again. But then wait, why, how does, oh, rook to b8 makes it not a fork anymore. Okay, I got it. But I understand why that's a mistake, because he has the knight to e7 check. Again, Anderson didn't see that and played queen to d2, which was the miss because he didn't find this. But I don't know why he did that. What was this about, Anderson? Where were you headed? It might have been one of those things that I run into a lot of times in daily games, but also in rapid games. It's like, I don't know what to do. Let me find a move that doesn't mess everything up. And from here, the queen is still defending the knight, still defending this bishop, pointed at a pawn, I guess. Like it's a non-harmful move. It's obviously didn't find the best move, but it doesn't mess up anything, I guess. It does take away a little bit of this threat because now I can move the bishop. And again, I should have played rook to e8 to prevent that, or queen to b7. It wanted my queen back where I had it originally. But wait, no, queen to b7 is what I played, but it's not listed there. Wait, wasn't it listed there just a second ago? I don't know, but when I played it, it was counted as inaccurate. Now he needs to come over here to g2 or d3. I don't know about d3. I think I understand g2, because then when he checks, my queen's hanging. But all those times he was supposed to play rook to e1, he finally did. Oh, and I was supposed to challenge it directly rook to e8, and I did. And now that he doesn't have this mate threat anymore, he's not supposed to check me here. It's not his best move to take, but he did. That's brought him down under +1, and of course I'm supposed to take back. He's not supposed to move the other rook to e8. Supposed to play queen to g2 again, or queen to d1. I don't know what queen to d1 does. But instead he decided to trade off rooks here, perhaps hoping for, a draw at some point, or the fact that he's got 3 connected advanced pawns here, and he has an active bishop, unlike my passive bishop. His bishop's on, the longest diagonal of the board, one of the 2 longest diagonals, and pointed right in front of my queen. So I would have actually thought he was ahead here, and maybe trading off might actually help him. But my rook's undefended, so I either have to take him or move my rook, or bring my queen back. Wait, what? Queen to a8, why would I do that? Doesn't that just give him the fork? No, it doesn't, because I would take his rook. Okay, never mind. Yeah, I think I would probably have gone to b8, not a8. But anyway, I took his rook, knowing he would take back. We're about even as long as I play queen to c6 or queen to c8. No, just queen to c6. That's the only one. The only one that keeps us even. Okay, well, I don't know why. I mean, it points at an undefended pawn, but wouldn't he just move it? It says he would bring his queen all the way down in here. Okay, actually queen to c6 points at 2 different pawns. But yeah, it says he would play queen to e8 at that point. That's attacking my knight. And I would take on c4, which attacks his knight, and then he would check. That's not what happened. I played here to give my king an out, thinking if I ever did have to move the bishop, I wouldn't get mated down this way. And now he checked. Oh, and I should have taken. I didn't want to take because then he would take and then my knight would be pinned. So I would have to, like, I guess, squeeze out of it. It says, no, what? It says if I took, he would take and I would play queen to f3, which is down there. And he would take my pawn, not my knight. Wait, why wouldn't he take my knight? What? Okay, let's say that I took to stay even. The only way he stays even is to take back. Now it still does say, okay, I can play queen to c7, although I don't know why. I would want to get out of the way of that pin, wouldn't I? But I can also play queen to f3. Now, why wouldn't he take the knight? Oh, he can. Well, that's what any human would play. So the fact that the line said he would take here is a little off to me. But anyway, so let's say he takes the knight. Well, I'm going to check on d1, which helps protect this pawn. Their king is going to go to f2 or g2, doesn't matter. Let's say f2. And then I'm going to play check on d2 and win the bishop. But then he's going to get this pawn, isn't he? He goes to f1, and I'm not going to take the bishop. Oh, I'm just going to repeat. Okay. Well, then why wouldn't he try to get out over here? Because I'm going to check, and okay, h3 is one of his moves, but I'm not going to take the bishop. Okay, I could. Or I could just, okay, I can keep checking. I think. Okay, my computer's fan has kicked on trying to keep up with the wind outside, and doesn't look like I'm going to have time to look at that other game. Okay, so that was a miss on his part because I could take, but I didn't want to take because I didn't want the queen down there, so I moved my king over, and he was supposed to just bring the knight out to d5. No, his knight out to d5, which when he did it on the next turn, it was a mistake. But here, that's what he's supposed to do, but he brought his queen up to line up here again. Knight to f6 is my best move, and now I'm ahead, and now we're back to where he gave it up. Now he's not supposed to play knight to d5, he's supposed to play knight to f5, and I'm just slightly ahead if I will take it. But I didn't. I got out of the way, as we discussed earlier, and queen to e3 is his absolute best move. I assume it's because the knight's hanging? And I'm just supposed to protect it with c8 or a8, apparently not b8 again for some reason, even though b8 is probably the one that I would have chosen had I moved the queen. Well, because b8 protects both of those as well as the knight. Okay, but anyway, I went there. It doesn't matter. He has two pieces pointed at that pawn. Okay, and he's the best by far is to take with the queen. Good job, Anderson, for seeing that. We both missed a ton of stuff, but I think I probably would have taken with the knight. But he took here. I guess it's okay for me to take. And I thought maybe I was going to do okay here, even though he's now a pawn ahead because that pawn that he just took. And it says my best move is d5. I have no idea why. Wouldn't he just take it? It says he would not. Okay. I moved my king to get out of the line of that bishop and thought I could start moving some pawns. And we saw from the graph that he's going to be ahead the rest of the way here. I will just go ahead and play through. These two pawns here against my one pawn are a huge advantage. And of course, my king's on the complete opposite side of the board from that. So he starts bringing his king. I realized my king needed to go that way, so I started bringing my king that way, and I'm just not going to make it. This right here I thought was masterful. Got his king right there. There's nothing I can do about the a pawn. So, I mean, that seems like he got his king over here really quickly, and at this point I knew I was lost. I just went ahead and kept playing about 12 more moves, you know, to force him to checkmate me as I normally do with most opponents. And of course, well, that was a miss. We had a mate in 2, but he had to play bishop to f6 first. Or even g7 would have been a mate in 4. G7's over here. Okay, not sure about that. This is probably what I would have played because the pawn's cutting off stuff. It kind of forces me to go. I only have one legal move. And then he picked off a couple of pawns just to be sure that I couldn't pull any shenanigans. Oh, that was my best move? Really? No, it was not. Bishop to e1 was my best move, but the game review thought that was my best move. And now he has all sorts of things that lead to a mate very quickly. The game review thought that was his best move. I didn't have a lot of choices there, and he just pulled that back. That's, you know, he's willing to trade off the bishops here because he has the queen. So I totally get that. Should have gone to e8 or g8, but I went to e7, which the game review thought was best. And he just came a little bit closer. Nothing I can do. I should have gone to f8. Not d8. I went to d8, which is mate, but he didn't see it. He did what he had planned, which was to trade off the bishops, and then I'm toast. All I can do is move a pawn. It's his turn right now, but if he doesn't mate me right here, which he can't, all I can do is move a pawn. My king is completely cut off here because of the queen and king's positioning. So he just pushed this pawn forward, which is going to give him checkmate. I pushed a pawn and then he checkmated me. Good job, Anderson. I'm going to say that his mistake here, when he should have gone to f5, but he went to d5, I'm going to call that an intermediate mistake because it's a very simple tactic here where when he takes back with the pawn, I pick up a pawn. And I should have seen that. So it's also, I guess, an intermediate mistake of mine to not see that, but I don't understand how this is bad. But yeah, that's the move that lost me the game. Good job, Anderson, for spotting queen to e3, the move that won the game, basically, because after that, all he had to do was not blunder, apparently. He's still not up an extra pawn, but it looks like he will be because, oh, that's why he went there, because I didn't even see that in the analysis, much less in the game, until like a move or two later, but he's got that pawn. And that's what won him the game, was picking up the b pawn, I think. Okay. Well, hopefully you got something out of that, and if you have something to contribute, please feel free in the comments. If I'm mistaken about how I lost this game, but I think that's how I lost the game, is that had I taken the knight, I would have picked up a pawn, but instead he picked up a pawn, and that made all the difference, especially given that he was just able to laser focus on bringing his king over here in just a few moves, and there was no way I could get to that pawn. So, I mean, awesome. I meant to get to the other game today, but this took a while, as they often do. I will try to get to that other game before too long. Thank you for spending your time here. I'll see you next time.